Hello again. Here's another asshole on the internet with a top 10 list. This list is my top 10 2023 albums. My criteria. It must have been released in 2023. No greatest hits or compilation albums. Sorry, Nico Case. If you've never listened to Nico Case and enjoy compilations, her Wild Creatures this year is fantastic and I certainly recommend it. If you're a current fan, it does have a new single on it, Oh Shadowless, but one new song didn't feel fair for me to include it on this list. Also, no re-releases or first-time releases of material before 2023. I won't have time to get to it before the end of the year, but a top 10 jazz reissue video would certainly be fun. It was a great year for those and others. WCB Jazz Vinyl's YouTube channel is excellent for jazz, and he did a top jazz reissue video for 2023. So if you're interested in that, I'll link to it in the description. So let's get started. There's a lot of great music to get through. Welcome back to Doug's Music Fun channel. Yeah, fun! At number 10, starting this list, is Laufey with her release, Laufey with the Iceland Symphony. Laufey. First off, the name. In an interview, she explains how to pronounce it, something like Laufey. I'm going to struggle with this name throughout, but she mentioned that she doesn't mind it getting mangled, expects it, and would rather people try than mispronounce it than not try at all. The name Laufey is from Norse mythology, being the mother of Loki. She, the singer, not Loki's mom, is an Icelandic Chinese singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist. I am new to Laufey this year, not having heard her first album, Everything I Know About Love, released last year, or her EPs, Typical of Me, released in 2021, and the Reykjavik Sessions, released in 2022, or A Very Laufey Holiday, released in November of last year. I have heard her recent duet with Norah Jones, Christmas with You. It's a single with the traditional Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas as the A-side, and then she co-wrote with Jones Better Than You on the B-side. It's a fantastic record released on Blue Note and available streaming. When I first heard of her and saw the cover of her on her album this year, Bewitched, I assumed she was a pop singer. But her songs are jazz, even though she's earned a 2024 Grammy nod in the category of Best Traditional Pop Vocal Album for Bewitched. And although she cites Taylor Swift as an influence, her music is much more in line with some of the jazz influences she also cites, Chet Baker, Ella Fitzgerald, and Billie Holiday, among others. A Night at the Symphony has only been released digitally. It's on most of the streaming platforms, and digital downloads are available on Qobuz and elsewhere. Also, notably, the video of each song's performance are available on Laufey's YouTube channel. It makes for a great evening of watching and listening. There is a playlist created to string them together, and I'll put those links in the description. A Night at the Symphony includes songs from her 2021 release, Typical of Me, as well as covers of Hoagy Carmichael and Ned Washington's The Nearness of You, Cole Porter's Every Time We Say Goodbye, and man, I'm going to mangle this. It's Icelandic. Eggvelt Pukamur from Icelandic jazz artist Odagir Christiansen. My apologies to Odagir. During these performances, she plays many instruments, guitar, piano, and the highlight for me is her plucking and bowing cello during I Wish You Love, an older French song. The French song is entitled, and I'll do my best with these pronunciations, Que reste-il de nos amours? or What Remains of Our Loves, with music written by Leo Chorliac and lyrics by Charles Trenet. The song was first recorded in 1942 by the singer Lucien Boyer, and the song was used extensively in Francois Truffaut's film Baiser Volé, or Stolen Kisses in English, the title having been plucked directly from the song's lyrics. The song is best known to English-speaking audiences as I Wish You Love, that was written with new lyrics by American composer and lyricist Albert Askew Beach. I Wish You Love was introduced in 1957 by Keely Smith as a title cut of her solo debut album, I Wish You Love, and was one of Smith's signature songs. The song has been recorded many, many times over the years, with notable versions by Chet Baker, Ray Charles, Nat King Cole, Bing Crosby, Ella Fitzgerald, and the list goes on. We now have this wonderful rendition from 24-year-old Laufey, bringing it to a new audience. This is one of the reasons why I love jazz, as there is such a rich history to be explored. Another highlight of this performance is when she performs on stage with her identical twin sister, Unia, who is a classically trained violinist. They performed during the song Laufey wrote for her, entitled Best Friend, which is very sweet. And lest I forget, the Iceland Symphony does a masterful accompaniment with Hugh Brunt directing. I'm inclined to continue gushing about this young talent. However, at the risk of this video becoming too long though, we should move on to number 9. My number 9 pick is Son Volt's Day of the Doug. Son Volt is an old alt-country favorite of mine, so I'm happy to discuss this 2023 release, Day of the Doug. This is a tribute album to Doug Sahm after Son Volt's frontman Jay Farrar took a deep dive into his music during the most recent pandemic. For those not familiar with Son Volt, they were formed in 1994 after the breakup of the band Uncle Tupelo. Uncle Tupelo also counted Jeff Tweedy among its members, who went on to form Wilco, and Jay Farrar formed Son Volt. They have a country rock sound, lap and pedal steel guitars aplenty, with a vintage overdrive guitar sheen layered throughout. The lineup on this record is as follows: Andrew Duplantis on bass guitar and vocals, Jay Farrar on guitar and vocals, John Horton on bass guitar, slide guitar, and baritone guitar. Mark Peterson handles drums and percussion. Mark Spencer handles guitar, keyboards, and backing vocals. Additional personnel include Gary Hunt on fiddle and Brad Sarno on pedal steel guitar. So let's discuss Doug Sahm for those who aren't familiar. He is considered one of the main figures of Tex-Mex music and became popular with his band, the Sir Douglas Quintet.
Are there any young folk singers or rock groups you would recommend for us to hear?
Oh yeah, there's the Sir Douglas Quintet. I think are probably the best.
Sahm was in many bands and also released solo records from 1973 onwards. He died in 1999 and a few recordings were posthumously released. He was a beloved musician and looms large in Texas and beyond. Day of the Doug includes 12 songs that span Sahm's career. The first moments of the record, and the last, consist of phone messages that Sahm left Farrar and are entertaining in their own right. I've never listened to Sahm directly, and I'm admitting some ignorance here. Can't listen to everything. But based upon this record, I hope to find some time to get the source, as all of these songs are wonderfully crafted. Sahm was a true songsmith. Day of the Doug is a fantastic record, and mine are ranked higher in the list, but given its tribute, covers, roots, I wanted to give recognition to albums that had original material. And yeah, I had to get a Day of the Doug t-shirt. Okay, moving to number 8. My number 8 is Jason Isbell and the 400 Units, Weathervanes. Of all the albums to hit top lists this year, I think Jason Isbell and the And the 400 units Weathervanes is the most off-sided record. Well, besides a few others that didn't even make my list. Anyhow, Jason wrote some of the material during his role acting in Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. I had no idea he was even in this film. This is his 9th studio album and the 6th accompanied by his backing band, the 400 unit. Here's the lineup on the record. Jason Isbell, of course, on guitar and vocals. The 400 unit consists of Sadler Vaden, guitar, backup vocals, Derry DeBorja, keyboard, accordion, backup vocals, Chad Gamble, drums, backup vocals, Amanda Shires, fiddle, backup vocals, and Will Johnson, guitar, backing vocals, drums, and percussion. Isbell paints many, many pictures with his direct lyrics, references to class, substance abuse, unrequited love, and a host of others. For my money, he is one of the strongest lyricists in rock currently. I also love his and the 400 unit sound. Lush guitars, sliding, pushing Isbell's voice as he cries out various truths and heartbreak. It's another great example of these artists' work and a fine, fine record. My number 7 is Molly Tuttle and Golden Highway, City of Gold. Molly Tuttle is an amazing guitarist, banjo player, and songwriter in the bluegrass tradition. This album caught me at a time when I'm not listening to much bluegrass or old-timey music, but my roots run deep in these genres, and it's always welcome to discover a new artist in the tradition. She has a storied bluegrass career, learning to play guitar at age 8, then releasing an album of duets, The Old Apple Tree, at age 13 with her father, Jack Tuttle, a bluegrass multi-instrumentalist and instructor. She has received many, many songwriting and guitar awards. City of Gold is her 4th studio album and the 2nd with her band, The Golden Highway. Here's the lineup. Molly Tuttle handles the lead vocals, backing vocals, guitar, and also produces the record. Golden Highway consists of Bronwyn Keith Hines on fiddle, Dominic Leslie on mandolin, Shelby Means on bass, and Kyle Tuttle on banjo. Other musicians include Jerry Douglas on dobro, Dave Matthews on vocals, and Jordan Perlson on drums. Her writing collaborators include Shelby Means from The Golden Highway, Keith Secker from Old Crow Medicine Show, and Mason Villa. She has spoken about many influences in various interviews, including Alison Krauss in Union Station. She said in an interview with a Bluegrass Situation that her and co-producer, dobro player Jerry Douglas would say to each other during the recording, "Make us Acus," A-K-U-S, meaning make us Alison Krauss and Union Station, because they're like our heroes. She also cites Gillian Welch as an influence, and both her and Welch attended the Berklee School of Music. Welch also sang on Tuttle's side saddle on her 2022 release, Crooked Tree. My personal tastes are that sometimes bluegrass, heavy metal, jazz, probably other genres, can all suffer from the same artistic deficit, playing too fast out of a tradition of displaying technical virtuosity. Maybe it's because of my age, but any hyperspeed efforts in any genre cause my ears and brain to be overwhelmed. Thankfully, I think only one song on this effort by Tuttle and crew falls into that camp. On the other hand, achieving a dreamlike, flowing, neo-psychedelic vibe, such that achieved by Tuttle and crew on Stranger Things, is at a level I have not heard any other acoustic group realize. It's a wonderful, dreamlike song and truly creative and technically accomplished. All in all, this is a wonderfully written, expressively performed album, and I'm glad to highlight it for whoever wants to give it a listen. Continuing on the Roots Americana trail a bit, next up is Rose City Band's fourth album, Garden Party. This was another one that popped up on my streaming recommendations, and the sound that they project immediately drew me in. It's a country psychedelic swoon of a record, with soft, warm bath songs that still have an electric charge around them. Not sure mixing warm bath and electric metaphors is the wisest thing to do. Yuck, yuck. Rose City Band is a project of guitarist and vocalist Ripley Johnson. Besides Johnson, the lineup includes pedal steel guitarist Barry Walker, keyboardist Paul Hasenberg, bassist Dewey Mahood, and drummer Dustin Dybvig. It also features guest appearances by John Jeffrey on drums and Sine Yamada on synths. This album kinda sorta reminds me of a cross between the country era Grateful Dead, Working Man's Dead, American Beauty, etc., if they recorded it in the Laurel Canyon or something. It sounds very California, and it's a beautiful trip. My number 5 is Ratboys' The Window. This is a raucous, well-crafted album. It is definitely the most indie of any of my top 10. It caught my ear because most of the indie releases I've heard this year left me cold, but this one is a melodic, fuzzy rock and roll accomplishment that I wanted to include here. Ratboys members are Sean Newman, bass and vocals, Marcus Nuccio on drums, David Sagan on guitar, Julia Steiner on vocals and guitar. Additional musicians on this record include Mike Vernon Davis on keyboards on the song Morning Zoo, and Abby Gunnarsson violin on Morning Zoo and Bad Reaction. It was produced by Chris Walla, who did an excellent job of weaving these songs together in a cohesive whole. This is what Julia Steiner, the lead singer and writer of the title track, The Window, said in an interview with Stereo Gum magazine. I wrote this song a few days after the death of my grandma in June 2020. She didn't have COVID, but because of the pandemic, my grandpa wasn't able to visit her in person at the nursing home to say goodbye. He ended up standing outside her room and saying goodbye through an open window. A lot of the lyrics are direct quotes of things he said to her in those final moments. End quote. Almost every song on this record rises to a high degree of competence and quality, and those more familiar with the band than I cite this fifth record as a culmination and artistic peak of the band so far. Evelyn Rydleski writes in her Pitchfork review of the record, "Ratboys have written great tunes before, but they've never stacked so many together like this." If one singer defined the alternative rock voice, my vote is for Natalie Merchant. Sweet and sultry, her start with 10,000 Maniacs in 1981 brought this voice to the masses and catalyzed the sound for generations to come. She sang with 10,000 Maniacs for 7 albums before leaving the group in 1993. My number 4, Keep Your Courage, is Merchant's 8th studio album as a solo artist. The album is built around the concept of having a courageous heart and is composed entirely of love songs, with many of these songs addressing a mythological character. The list of folks who contributed to this album is large. I'll put it up on the screen for you now. The first song I heard from this album was Come On Aphrodite, which combines Merchant's voice with Abina Kumsen Davis's of the Resistance Revival Choir. It implores the goddess to appear, to come out of the sea and make her drunk with love. A beautiful song that hooks in a mythological element. The rest of the album follows suit, and I'm enjoying every myth reference and the lush harmonies and orchestration created surrounding them. Ms. Merchant spoke of this in an interview with the Associated Press. Quote, "It's very valuable to use cultural references because they carry so much meaning and iconic symbolism. During the pandemic, it really felt like we were living in the myth. I really turned to mythology not to understand what's happening, but to see a reflection of what's happening in our contemporary world." End quote. A personal favorite of mine on this is Song of Himself, a love letter to poet Walt Whitman with the lyrics, quote, "Come sing your song of love, bold, brave, and proud." End quote. Ms. Merchant discusses Whitman in the AP interview and says, quote, "I read his poetry like sacred texts. It's really, really helpful to me. Helps me. It reinforces my hope for humanity, and it makes me pause and notice the miracles all around me." End quote. Another notable song is the opening track, Big Girls, a bittersweet song about aging, which I greatly identify with. Here's a lyric from the song, quote, "Your luck was never leaving, so you just threw the dice and time was on your side. But times got tough and life got even. So you told yourself some lies, and now you truly do believe that there's only one way to survive. You hold on to your pride." End quote. It's an interesting song. It goes on to say that big girls don't cry and pleads for us to hold on, but also describes the listener's life as a metaphor of a ship sinking. Quote, "So you took a hit and the ship is going down. Hold on, hold on. A spark is lit and the fire is spreading fast." End quote. I'm not sure what to make of this. Should you let go of your pride, acknowledge your weakness, and maybe in the process save yourself? Or take the lyrics at face value, be tough, let your heart grow cold, don't show weakness, etc., and go down with the ship? Because after all, we don't escape death? I don't know. I have to think it's a tongue-in-cheek song. But honestly, I'm not sure given the conviction with which Merchant and Kumsin Davis sing the lyrics. In any event, it got me thinking and reflecting, a good thing. Another notable song is Sister Tilly, which hints at aging again, reflecting how everyone is missing Miss Tilly with her, quote, "hair in a mess in your outdated dress," when Halston was all the rage, your Rilke poems and your stacks of Mother Jones, your feminist raves in your Didion shades, and finally, your Zeppelin, so loud and proud. Merchant also intones, quote, "Oh, how I wish you could stay, but you're gone. You've gone so far away." Sister Tilly, you're a constellation. Sister Tilly, you're a white light vibration now. Everything fades away. End quote. So it occurred to me that it is akin to a feminine version of a Rumi poem that I'm fond of, The Red Shirt. I will recite that for you. "Has anyone seen the boy who used to come here? Round-faced troublemaker, quick to find a joke, slow to be serious. Red shirt, perfect coordination, sly, strong muscles with things always in his pocket. Reed flute, ivory pick, polish and ready for his talent. You know that one. Have you heard stories about him? Pharaoh and the whole Egyptian world collapsed for such a Joseph. I would gladly spend years getting word of him, even third or fourth hand." End of the poem. So, anyhow, each song on this record could be explored with the many literary references throughout. It's a tremendous accomplishment, and I look forward to revealing more of its secrets. And with that, I think it's past time to move on. My number 3 pick is Rodrigo y Gabriela's In Between Thoughts, A New World. This is their 6th studio album recorded by the Mexican duo. I have their 2019 Grammy-winning Metavolution record and have streamed and enjoyed many of their releases. Traditionally, their recordings are spare from an arrangement view, usually just 2 acoustic guitars. Complicated, however, from a rhythmic view, and enjoyable and brilliant from any view. In Between Thoughts brings some additional elements to their arrangements, including an orchestra performed by the Bulgarian Symphony Orchestra. And in addition, the guitars have expanded to, at times, lush, funky, psychedelic guitar effects, as well as their traditional acoustic strumming and solos. Rodrigo y Gabriela began exploring the Hindu non-dualism teachings of Advaita during the pandemic in 2020 and cite these explorations as a big motivation for the album, most of which was composed spontaneously. I was wary heading into my first listen with this album, not knowing how adding effects, strings, and more production was going to affect the ultimate music, but they applied these with a very judicious touch, just enough to transport you in the direction I think they intended, but still unmistakably Rodrigo y Gabriela. Very much a wow recording and achievement. So now let's get on to my biggest surprise on the list. Number 2 on my list is Jessie Ware's That Feels Good. I stumbled upon this album via some recommendations from my streaming service Tidal. It was completely out of the blue, and given my background, not a record I would have expected to have so high on this list, but I was drawn in instantly with this wonderful record. It is an old school R&B dance record with great vocals and fun lyrics. This is the sort of record you put on the background, dance around the house while you're doing your crap. It rewards close listening for the lyrical aspect, but the main thing is the grooves. I need a groovy, uncomplicated record at times, and this is one of the best. I have a hard time listening through it only once. Usually I put it on second or even a third time around the old turntable. I'm certainly not a dance music expert. Some songs are described by critics as Italo disco, French house, diva house. I don't disagree, I just wouldn't know. Please don't ask me to name another Italo disco song. All I know is, well, this album is far out. My favorite tracks include the title track, which opens the record, and Shake the Bottle on side B. There's a long list of musicians on this album that I won't read through, but I will put it up on the screen for a few seconds if you'd like to pause it. James Ford is a key partner here to Ms. Ware with excellent bass lines and a whole bunch of other contributions. Lots of background singers, horn players, strings, the list goes on, and they're all talented. I don't have much more to say except that if I would rank albums by the ones I think I'll listen to the most, this might be number 1. And speaking of number 1, my number 1 record of 2023 is Laufey's Bewitched. I listened to quite a bit of jazz this year, and one of the reasons I'm thrilled with Laufey is that she is helping to revive this dying genre that needs a boost. Well, at least commercially. She is young, talented, musically mature, and has brought jazz to the Taylor Swift generation, and I have so much gratitude for that. Bewitched gets the nod partly because of this, but it's about the music, and every single song on this record brings me delight, warmth, and, at the risk of hyperbole, a sense that the world is a better place with this record and Laufey in it. Laufey wrote half of the songs on Bewitched, co-wrote the other half with her partner Spencer Stewart, who is in the band Camino and the record's producer. The one cover on this record is a jazz standard, Misty, a song included in the Great American Songbook, composed in 1954 by pianist Errol Garner, with lyrics later added by Johnny Burke. It was Johnny Mathis's signature song on his 1959 album Heavenly, and has been recorded by numerous artists, including Ella Fitzgerald, Chet Baker, Count Basie, Bing Crosby, Aretha Franklin, Sarah Vaughan, among others. She's in good company with that one. And to be honest, A Night at the Symphony might actually be my number 2, but I already think it is unfair to have 2 records from the same artist on the list, but I couldn't help myself. In addition, I think this video would have suffered. So final verdict is number 10 and number 1 for Laufey. 1 for Bewitched due to her writing and co-writing most of the songs. But suffice it to say, I'm over the moon with Laufey. So to close this video, I'd like to quote the first lyric from I Wish You Love on her Laufey with the Iceland Symphony record. I wish you bluebirds in the spring to give your heart a song to sing and then a kiss. But more than this, I wish you love. So may the universe shine upon you now and into 2024. Until next time.